Working as a Harley-Davidson salesman can be one of the most rewarding jobs out there to one of the most grueling rides imaginable. From riding motorcycles with the designers and engineers that have envisioned them and have spent the past 10 years of their lives inventing them and coming up with this, to getting to help somebody get their very first Harley that they've spent years saving money for and planning, to getting threats of physical violence on one's person over numbers on a piece of paper. All of these have personally happened to me in my time working as a Harley-Davidson salesman here at Evansville Harley-Davidson. And today I wanted to do a video that's a little different, but I wanted to kind of go over like a little bit of how-to on what it takes to be a Harley-Davidson salesman and a little bit of what I wish I knew beforehand. Something I want to preface with this video is I'm not going to be going and saying, hey, here is everything you need to do in order to make $100,000 in sales, in that sales guru type voice. I think there's enough people out there. I'm gonna tell you what's worked for me. Take what you will, or just leave it there. Kind of treat it as a buffet. So to tell you a little bit about me, hi, my name's Jesse James. I have been working as a motorcycle salesman here at Evansville Harley-Davidson since the change of ownership that happened late 2022. I came in more around February of 23, but I've been here pretty much since the start at this point. The job was, I was working as a car salesman at the time at another location. It just started in sales over there. And I had applied under the previous owners, but they had never given me the time of day. They gave, management at the time gave me a call saying, hey, are you still looking for a job? I said no, but my son was 6 months old at the time. And my wife said, you're not saying no to no job offers. So I came over here with what they had to say and kind of just jumped in afterwards to the Harley-Davidson lifestyle. Now, the reason that I tell you about that part of it is actually one of the things that I'll bring up to anybody coming into sales or motorcycle sales in general. I had very limited experience on the sales side. And before coming here, I actually had no experience with Harley-Davidson. My dad had a Harley wallet that he liked, but never a bike, never nothing. So I came in completely fresh. Since then, I have been not only the top salesman of this store, but also recognized by the motor company as a master of product knowledge. Gotten to go and do the things where I was talking about, of go and help people get their first bikes. Whenever the new Helix bikes came out in 2024, my dealership chose me to be one of the people to go and learn from the engineers, ride with them, and the designers, and get to learn from the horse's mouth. So you can come into this with very little experience in either the history of Harley-Davidson or motorcycles or sales and do well for yourself. But that's a little bit about me. Now to kind of get into what the meat and potatoes of what does it take to be in motorcycle sales. So at its core, sales really isn't overly complicated. Be it motorcycles, cars, video games, like even going to Walmart or Amazon. It's all the basic things. Somebody else has something that somebody else wants, and they want to exchange some form of goods, be it cash or vehicle items to trade in order to cover the difference. And it's the same concept. So with this, there's just a little bit more paperwork involved. So one of the things that I like to say a lot is don't overly complicate sales via yourself. 9 times out of 10, especially with Harley-Davidsons, like for Harley-Davidsons, if the guy or gal comes in wearing a Harley-Davidson shirt, Harley-Davidson tattoo, to the Harley-Davidson store, 9 times out of 10, they're looking for something Harley-Davidson. Like you can't accidentally come into a Harley store. And as either the salesperson or as the dealership just in general, it's our job just to not mess it up. Let people do what they intend to do by coming into your store and just make it easy for them. So I put a pin on that again, like 9 times out of 10, it is truly the salesperson that makes it complicated for anybody to purchase a motorcycle. So for me, I would heavily encourage anybody that is getting into any type of sales, especially Harley sales, make it easy for somebody to come in and do business. Don't get in your own way. With all that being said, though, there is a professional way to go about sales. And I'm going to break down what I believe is the most important first 5 steps. Now, as I said early on with it, like, I am, for all intents and purposes, still newer to this industry. There's guys with 10, 20, 30 years of experience more than me. But I want to give my perspective on it to anybody that's still coming in while it's still fresh in my head of what it was like to be new. And to me, like, I'm not going to give any like word tracks or, oh, say this, it'll sell you a bike every time. But these are my like top 5 things in the sales process of what, from a professional standpoint, you need to do in order to help somebody purchase a motorcycle. The first step is the greeting. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking, well, that's pretty like duh. You got to say hi to somebody in order for them to purchase something. But we've all been to that place, be it of any type of retailer, where you walk into the place and there's no one there to assist you. So for me, I break down the greet in one of 2 ways. The first one is what I've coined my welcome to Mo's greet. This is where I'm in the middle of something, like I'm either making phone calls, following up with customers, or doing one of the things that I have to do where I am indisposed, but I see somebody walking in. So in those instances, I use my welcome to Mo's greet, which is welcome to Harley-Davidson. Acknowledging that somebody has come into either your showroom or your store can make a very big impact, not only on that person, but also your reputation. So even if you are busy and you don't have necessarily the most ample time to go forward and talk with them, do the welcome to Mo's. I actually, whenever I was teaching this greet one time of my two different styles, and I called it the welcome to Mo's, he actually said, anytime I go into a Mo's, if they say welcome to Mo's, I get double meat, regardless of what I was planning on getting. So in that instance, that is an extra transaction that's happening just because somebody said welcome. So if you don't think saying welcome or hey to every person that you get within 10 feet of or that walks into your establishment is important, then you need to reevaluate that part of it, because I promise you it is one of the most powerful things you can do. Now, for my second greet, this is when I've got all my stuff done and I'm looking for essentially the next person to try and sell a motorcycle to, quite frankly. And this is where I try and spark a deep conversation about whatever's going on. I am interested in them and what brings them into the store. Now, what I like to do is I try and find something where I have in common with them. I'm big into shoes, shirts, facial hair, different hair products and stuff like that. So there's several different ways to like spark a conversation there. Even a design on a shirt, if they're parents, I'm a father myself, so having a conversation of like, hey, how old? I have this old blah blah blah. You'd be surprised of like how many genuine conversations you can have. Now what this is gonna do at this point is it kind of breaks the ice a little bit. We've all went into the stores where they want to, like, they're like, hey, I've got this bike that's great, I've got this product, you should buy it today, big sale, big summer blowout, right? All those things, but it's very abrasive. We've all heard it 1,000 times. So whenever somebody comes in and you can just like be interested in them, and I ain't gonna lie to you, 9 times out of 10, somebody's just coming in for motor clothes or a part, and that's okay. Not every person that comes into the store is going to looking to buy a motorcycle that day. Now I know what you're thinking. Jesse, didn't you say earlier if somebody's coming in with a Harley shirt, Harley tattoo, they're there to buy a Harley? Yes, they're there to partake in the culture to some extent, but they're not always going to buy that day. A successful closing ratio is 20% of the people you talk to in your career, you close. That is considered a high closing ratio. So that means for the 80% that's left over, those people are not going to buy, just flat out, at least not from you on that particular day. But being interested in them, sparking a genuine conversation, you never know where that can lead you long term. So yeah, if there's one thing I could say get really good at is the greet section, because if you can greet them correctly, if you can be interested in them and treat them more than just a number in the welcoming them in and like sparking a genuine conversation, you never know where that's going to go for a person. So the next step I'm going to bring up is the probe section. This is after the greet, we've done some small talking, and sometimes this is just as in depth as like, hey, what can I do for you today? Or, and like they're gonna say parts, motor clothes, or something like that, or they're looking for your pre-owned. It can be something just as simple as that to get into that next phase of the sales process. But really what the probe is you are trying to figure out like what you can do to take care of them and to help them. So this is asking open-ended question. Yes and no ain't gonna get you very far. So asking good questions. So you can ask something like one that I use all the time is, how do you feel like you'd like that color 3 years from now? Because sometimes that can spark a genuine conversation. Sometimes it'll be something as simple as, oh, I don't care about color too much. I'm just a black on black type thing. Nothing crazy. Easy enough. That means that color's not important to them. So that means that more likely maybe either style or performance or something like comfort could be more important to them. And you can just ask some of these good open-ended questions. Often whatever they're writing on now is a pretty good indicator. One of the ones that my mentor who taught me was asking, what is your current bike not doing for you that you would like your next one to do? And it seems very blunt and straightforward, but it's an innocent enough question. So like, for example, like if you ask me that, I have a 23 Lowrider ST. What my bike's not doing for me that I would like my next bike to do for me is be more touring capable. Nothing against the Lowrider ST. When I bought it, I knew that it wasn't capable of going cross country the best. But I would like my next bike to be able to. So asking those open-ended questions, and you can sometimes get a really good conversation, but you got to ask those probing questions and figure out what's important to them in motorcycle or purchase. So our next step is the present step. This is whenever you are showing your product to the potential buyer and you're going across it. Now, the only way to do a good presentation is to know your product. One of the biggest drawbacks, not just in Harley-Davidson sales, but really in any product sales just in general, is there's a overabundance of people not like selling stuff they know nothing about. Now, I'm not saying you need to be able to tear it all the way apart and rebuild it, but you have to have the fundamental understandings of what that product can do for the purchaser. You have to have taken the time to get to know the product before you ask anybody to sell it. Because if you haven't taken the time to get to know the product, you have essentially told the person that's potentially looking to purchase it, hey, this product's not important enough for me to know about it, so therefore it's not important enough for you to buy it. So if there's one thing it's near and dear to my heart, make sure that for the presentation part of it, you have taken the time to get to know your product very well. So the next step is what I would call the demo/tour. This is very much more vehicle sales related, and obviously your management team will dictate different rules and stuff to be aware of, and definitely follow those. But for the demo/tour, for cars and motorcycles, that's really the part of they're getting to experience what this product can do for them. Having a pre-designated route is definitely the way to go, in my opinion, not just going willy-nilly. That way, if anything does happen out on the test ride route, you're able to call for somebody to come and give you a hand with it. But yeah, for the demo/tour, let the person experience the product. Letting them ride on the motorcycle, it's gonna let them know what it's like in real time. Because words and videos online, as it were, can only do so much. Actually, feeling the product is what's gonna solidify if that's really what they're looking to do. So touring is the other half of the demo step. Used to have a manager that would say, ADT is the way to secure your career. and that is appointment, demo / tour. What that tour does is you're going to be showing the person around the dealership. Some people may have already seen around the dealership plenty. Other people, it may be their first time actually seeing around and seeing everything that goes on at a Harley-Davidson dealership. And what that does is it lets them see what goes on at the behind the scenes, how, and just basically gives them a better understanding of what we can do to provide a service to the riding community. Now, there are certain places and dealerships where it's like we shouldn't be taking people, like our warehouse for where we keep the motor clothes stuff, or our shipping and receiving where we're bringing people's parts stuff in. That maybe we don't take people through there. But if your dealership doesn't have a designated tour route, you should talk with your management about doing that, just again give them that elevated experience whenever they're coming to purchase a motorcycle from you. So in this next section, I'll talk about building a book of business and how I kind of set up my week to go. I'll be kind of brief in this section, but for a book of business, if you're unaware of what that is, it's essentially just customers and people that are in the sales pipeline, as it were, that would potentially be looking to make a purchase with you. To build up that book of business, be it, again, any type of sales really. A lot of it is going to be customer relations focused and being able to stay in contact with them and provide a service to those people, or if you have sold something to them, being able to reach out at a later time and that follow-up. So I'm going to start with talking about on Saturday, because Saturday is the day where you're going to have the most opportunity to talk to the most people, because people are off work, coming by, and essentially build up that book of business of current or future business, right? And that just involves getting in front of the most faces as possible. You're not making phone calls, emailing, doing any of that fun jazz. Anybody that comes into the store, you're trying to have a genuine conversation with them. This is where you're gonna, again, just get in front of the most people. What that allows you to do on the next 2 days, for us here at this store at the time of recording, we're only open Tuesday through Saturday. So on the Tuesday, Wednesday, what I'm doing at that point is I'm following up really with everybody that I've talked to on Saturday, seeing where they're at with stuff. They've had like a full weekend to think, see what they can do, and kind of like any business and stuff that was at a spot where we could potentially close it in a somewhat soon timetable. I'm taking all of that from Saturday and moving that through and just taking care of it. And now that I've got the extra time, because it's less traffic during the week, working on that to try and close that during the week. That's what I use my Tuesday, Wednesday for. For the Thursday, Friday, that is where if I've really gotten any business going on the Tuesday or Wednesday from just people coming in or phone calls up, trying to wrap those up at that point, in that later point of the week. One of the things that I firmly believe in, and a lot of people will tell you, is time does kill deals. So the sooner you can get something sold, the better. But the reality is not everybody can. So that's where you then are going to take anybody that you've met during the week and to come back in that you can do essentially the same thing you were doing on the Tuesday, Wednesday section of it. You're going to be trying to do that on the Thursday, Friday, of people you talked to that were fresh ups, as it were, fresh people that came into the showroom or called, trying to get that wrapped up on the Thursday or Friday, or the Saturday. Those could be your Saturday appointments to get those done while you're also, again, restarting that book of business. And by doing this, it, as you may have noticed, just the way I was explaining it, kind of leads into a cascading effect of you meet people on Saturday. They either buy then, or you're working on the Tuesday and Wednesday to try and get that going there, while also talking to new people Thursday, Friday to potentially close on Thursday, and then restarting that whole cycle again. And by doing this, that's one way to be building your book of business. And by the time that you get to by the end of year 3, because I'm not quite there yet, but I'm already at the point where I can see that it's all cascading on top of itself, to where for a lot of my sales right now, I'm just working off relationships and past experience. Now for this last section. This is the what I wish I knew before getting into selling Harley-Davidsons. Number one is that people love and hate this brand. Like, I have been chewed out more times than I could think of, like than really I would have ever imagined, over something the motor company has done, or something the motor company said that people didn't like, or it wasn't even something that was actually said, or it was just a rumor. People are incredibly passionate about their Harley-Davidsons, which leads to both ends of that spectrum. And as the salesperson that's walking up and like saying hey and trying to have a genuine conversation, you're going to be the lightning rod for a lot of that love and hate. And that's normal. So don't let that dissuade you at all. Just expect it. It's frustrating at times, especially whenever there's something that comes up that, like, for instance, one of the things that came up for me was the whole Harley-Davidson's gone woke side of things. Nothing I could have done to sway that public opinion one way or another, but I got chewed out for it countless times on the floor. And all I do is work here. Like, I enjoy motorcycles. This is fun. But I was getting chewed out because I work at a Harley-Davidson store. So just be aware that people are very passionate about their Harleys one way and the other. The next one is, if you are interviewing for a sales job at a place, whenever you're in the interview, ask what their service department is like. How long have people been there? You could also throw this in on the sales side of it. Ask who the longest tenured person is there, because that can give you kind of an indicator of the situation you're working in. In the sales department, whenever our service team has been slacking, I've definitely noticed it on my side in sales because customers are more upset. Their bikes aren't working correctly. And so asking, like, what is the service department like, seeing what's going on, and somebody that is coming into it to where you're going to have to be establishing a new book of business anyways, create as many positive opportunities for yourself as possible. And I would say if the service department is something that they're currently working on and rebuilding, as it were, take that into consideration for starting a sales job there, because that will be a hurdle that you have to work against, even though it had nothing to do with you. And then for the sales side of it, where ask how long the person that's been there the longest can be, that was one of the, like, if they're constant turning over, not having a whole bunch of guys, that means that there's something going on from a management side of that. So it might not be the best opportunity for somebody that is new coming into the industry. Or in my case, one of the reasons why I actually left the car dealership I was working at and came over here was I was new and hungry. I wanted as much knowledge as possible, and I just wanted to be, like, fed everything. Like, I wanted that fire hydrant experience. The car dealership I was at, I was salesman number 18 of 19. So there was a whole lot of fish in that pond, and no one was really willing to teach me. So not only was I going to have to be fighting with 18 other salespeople to get anybody that was coming up to potentially sell them something and build my book of business, but also I wasn't going to be able to learn. I was going to have to do that school of hard knocks from experience, and it was going to be a limited experience there, but nobody was wanting to teach me anything. And so whenever I came over here, one of their big things was they had two salespeople. We had one guy that was selling, the other one was kind of struggling and was on the way out. So to me, I saw opportunity. I knew that if I just took the time to learn and drink from a fire hydrant with it, I would have the best chance of making sales. And that's what I did. I was picking people's brains all the time with sales and asking every little bit of advice. And I was spending 5 hours on my days off just asking for, like, watching all the different videos on Harley-Davidson motorcycles so that I could get as much experience as possible. Everything from Harley-Davidson official to just vloggers and people out riding the bikes to learn the culture, because that's also a major facet of Harley-Davidson, is the culture that comes with it. The last piece of advice that I'll give out here is only stress over things that you control. In vehicle sales like this, there's a whole lot of moving parts, and there's a whole lot of things that are out of your control. You can't you can't control how much a bank's willing to finance. You can't control how, what a person's perception is of a dealership or of what has happened in the service department. So every day, if you can just ask yourself, did I do everything that I could to take care of people in a ethical and correct way, as it were, then that's really all you can control. Anything beyond that, you can't control. And there's going to be a lot that's beyond that. So don't let it weigh on your mind and distract you, and essentially can ruin this very fun career for you by focusing on all those things that you can't control. But that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're somebody getting into sales, leave your comments down below, or if, like, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this advice. This is a video that I've poured a lot of thought and time into, even though, like, I know it seemed jumbled at times whenever I was going through it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoy this more of like behind the scenes, what it's like working at a Harley-Davidson dealership, consider subscribing, because that's what I do here. But more than anything, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you out there on the road.